Ask me how I do it, I just stick to the plan, stick to the plan. Ask me how I do it, I just stick to the plan, stick to the plan. Really, it ain't nothing to it.
Hello, guys. Hello. I am back and I am going to be going back to the wonderful testimony series that I did. There was a little bit of the story that got left out, so I'm going to revisit that and we're just going to pick up where we left off. So, part 5, I ended that one telling you guys about my journey of healing in Chicago. What I failed to mention actually was what happened before I left, not concerning the church hurt, but the relationship actually that I got into before I left. So that was pretty integral part. I don't know, I kind of skipped over that, but we're going to go back and we're going to talk about it today. Okay? So what happened was I was actually doing a no dating, just working on me type deal, getting closer to God, really learning God's character, nature, his personality. Honestly, some of the best times that I've had, some of the most eye-opening dreams of just learning who Jesus was, who God was, like really just seeing him for who he was, just being able to learn how the Holy Spirit moves. That all happened in Michigan initially, and I had just some great encounters and moments with the Lord. And outside of that, I actually kind of got to a space where I was like, I've been single, probably single for maybe a year or so, and I hadn't dated. I previously was on some dating websites when I was like just doing that like worldly dating of not really having standards or boundaries. So this time I decided to get back online. One of my friends at the time had this really good experience with one of the apps, and it was Tinder of all apps. So I got on Tinder. It was a few of us that got on there, and she had met this Christian guy. So I was like, okay, well, it kind of planted a seed. I was like, okay, well, shoot, let me try the same thing too. And that's when I got back into the dating sites again, initially like post being saved and living for God. And I got on there and it didn't really go, nothing really went that far. Like there were some definitely, cute men on there, but there wasn't like a huge Christian pool. And yeah, so I was just kind of like swiping, honestly, I was literally about to get off. And before I got off, I started communicating with with this person. Should we give him a fake name? So I'm going to use like a very generic name. I'm going to use the name Chris. And this is a little spoiler alert, I'm actually working on something outside of this testimony where I'm going to just share with you guys some different poems and different journal entries actually from this time period of my life that I was actually healing and going through deliverance and kind of helped me. So I'm going to share that raw like journaling and poetry that helped me to heal from that place. So we're going to call this person Chris. You guys all know Chris, so it's just a generic name. So started talking to Chris over Tinder, and it moved so quick. Like it's like the texting. We were planning to meet, and we planned to meet at the Panera, actually across from the Walmart that I was working at the time. So just to like kind of just see like, was there a spark? Was there an interest off top? So we met at this Panera Bread, and initially, like he didn't look 100% of how his profile looked. You know, people kind of put pictures on there that, I mean, he looked pretty much the same, but am I really gonna say that? I think he was a little bit shorter than he looked in the app. So I was cool with it, and you know, had that kind of initial attraction and excitement nonetheless. And so we decided to meet for dinner later that same day. So after I got off work, we met for dinner at another restaurant close to where I worked. And I would not recommend meeting someone off of a app or dating site at the place of your at the place where you work. I don't remember if I told him that's where I worked and that's how he knew. Um, I don't remember how that worked, but that was not smart because if it didn't work out, yeah, that would have just been very dangerous, you know? So don't do that. So we met for dinner, we talked. You know, initially it came out like that I was abstinent and waiting for marriage. And then it came out that he was not. And so he kind of had that moment where it was like, okay, should I just completely walk away or, you know, continue to get to know her? So, you know, for whatever reason, he decided that, you know, he wanted to still get to know me and to do things kind of the way that I wanted to. So, off top, that was not a good place to start a relationship. Like, we weren't on the same page, we weren't equally yoked in that area. He was willing to give it a try. And personally, I don't recommend entering that. I've heard of a lot of people where that has worked for them. But what I noticed for me was that, you know, he initially started to do those things for me, but then grew, what is it called? Angry or resentful toward me because essentially I was trying to change him. So it's never good to be with someone that you have to change. So the best thing to do is to walk away, and that goes back to having your deal breakers in advance and sticking to them, and not, you know, just bending your deal breakers because you're either desperate or, you know, lonely, just all kinds of things. So yeah, we pretty much started off kind of on the wrong foot. But it seemed promising. You know, he was very enthusiastic to kind of learn, like, you know, what I wanted or what, you know, what it was that I was trying to journey on. So, like, we actually started reading a book together. I'm not going to mention the title of the book. In my opinion, this book has the potential to lead a lot of Christians down the wrong path because it recommends or it leaves it open for certain things that just kind of take you down the wrong path. For example, masturbation. I remember in that book it said, you know, do kind of what works for you, if I remember correctly. It kind of left a little gray area with masturbation and also with oral sex. Both of those things were like left gray, and there was not like an actual like scriptural um, reference for, you know, where these different opinions were coming from. So that kind of to skip forward, we were reading this book, and kind of that book planted different seeds of like, oh, well, maybe it's okay, you know, to masturbate. Maybe it's okay to get into oral sex or push the envelope, you know, as long as we're not having sexual intercourse, then it's not sex and I'm still pure. And that was just definitely so far from the truth, and really kind of took the relationship down that path. It was already, I believe it probably would have went there even without that book, but I just wanted to mention that. So yeah, we did not engage in sexual intercourse, but we found ourselves like getting very close to that and doing other things. I just watched actually a great video by Vicki Logan, and she was talking about sex, and but she was talking about it in a sense of a covenant and a marriage, and just talking about some of the hormones and things that are released. And it's just 100% true when you are, having that heavy groping or heavy rubbing and petting and all of that. Those hormones are released. Oxytocin, that's a hormone that is released when you experience pleasure like that, and it connects both of you guys together physically. Then you also have like the soul tie aspect of it. And so it was just, although like Chris and I, that's the name we're gonna call him. Although you know, we actually didn't date for that long, about 6 months, but we formed like a really strong soul tie from, the various things that we were doing. So it was just like awful going through that breakup. And we ended up not working just because of the things that I already mentioned. He started going to church and doing all these things, but slowly resented me because I was trying to change him, which I shouldn't have. And, we should have kind of just not even entered into a relationship together, but we did. So, yeah, that was like it was a hard breakup for it to be so short of a relationship, like a crash and burn. So yeah, I wanted to go back to that and just tell you guys about that. That was my one relationship post being saved. And I have not been in a relationship since then. So that's been about 4 years. Since my entire stay in Chicago, I've been single and just going through that healing and deliverance process. So, what I can also say about this point of my life, because I was actually more recently talking through this with a counselor, and this was a very mature place to be because instead of focusing on, she had me instead of to focus on him so much, she wanted me to focus on myself and like my part in this. And it really helped me. It's helping me even just have a clear focus in my current relationship. She really had me focus on what did I bring to the table in that relationship. I had all these different demands for him, and I had all these different things I was looking for him to do and for him to change. But what was I doing to meet him where he was at? Like nothing. And that's not to say I should have, but it just got me to think like, wow, um, that really wasn't fair for me to kind of put him through what I put him through. Like I would have broke up with me too. So I reached that. Um, I could see now, like, because at first I'm like, I know I'm such a great catch. I'm a high commodity, da da da, whatever the things you want to say about yourself, like in confidence and just knowing like you're a great person, you have a lot going for yourself, et cetera, et cetera. But to really like look at it from a lens of like, and understand possibly why he was unhappy and possibly what led to the breakup, and to look at it from a outside perspective was really nice and is helping me in my current relationship now. um, she also asked me, my counselor, she asked me, you know she asked me what about me brought favor to him in that time, because whenever you're in a courtship or like dating someone with the intent of marriage, like you should be able to see the fruit of um, your favor being brought to their life. So like I was looking, just like I couldn't, I really couldn't answer that, and I told her, I'm like, I can't answer that, and that was a hard session for me with her. It really was because I wasn't used to that. She straight up was like, "You were the counterfeit," and I had to just come to like a peace that both of us were truly, truly, truly counterfeits for one another. I was a counterfeit for him, and I've said this before in my other videos, but like I really had to see like, man, she's right. Like I was his counterfeit, he was my counterfeit. But it just helped to kind of just make peace with that whole like relationship and what went wrong with it. And at the end of the day, I was like, we would have been better off just walking away from one another at the beginning. And that's why I wanted to make that video about deal breakers before, because at that point, I didn't have deal breakers, and I didn't have things like set standards where it was like, nope, if he doesn't have that quality, that's a no, it's a no, it's a no from me. And so I feel like I got into a relationship where I settled with these different things because it's like, well, let me give this person a try. Let me see what's happening. The train in the background. Yeah, so this relationship was short, and then it required a lot of healing time after. And it also left some just bad wounds of I will never, or it made me make vows after where I said I wouldn't date a person like him. I wouldn't date a person in the profession that he was in, because I just felt like so hurt by the situation. Um, because it was promising at first, and then we had like good moments, but it just crashed and burned so quick where it was just like, oh my God. Yeah, so I had to just more recently just revisit this particular relationship. And it's one of those things where, like, when God brings it up, you're like, really, God? Like, why do I have to go down this road again? Why are you wanting me to revisit this one again? Because he was so like, I had put in my head, like, he was so insignificant, like, it's such a waste of time. Like, I didn't feel like wasting my time revisiting it, but it was important to God for me to actually like, deal with it. And so I was grateful for the time I had with my counselor concerning this. And it was only one session, but it was a hard session to like go through. But along with that session, I began to write some poetry and some journals entries, and there were letters to him. And I'm going to most likely share that with you guys in a podcast format, where I just start record it and let you guys listen in on it, because there is definitely healing in it. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this part of my testimony. Um, we'll see. I think I'm going to do one more part to this. Make sure you guys like it. If you like content like this, if you enjoyed this little story time and this part 6 of my testimony, and if you have not already, make sure that you subscribe so that you become a part of the fam. All right. Thank you guys again. See you on the next one. Bye.